Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert, that's me. This video contains things that I encounter throughout the day. If for some reason I complete a task and you would like to see the details, you can click on the link in the description area below. This video also contains tips and tricks that I learned throughout the years. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. Thank you very much for watching. Folks, there's the bolt. There's the fuel tank strap hanging down. So I need to just push on that fuel tank a little bit, hold that strap in place, spin that bolt in, and I'll be good to go. And I can go get my battery. There it is, folks. Less than a minute, we are good to go. Let me go get some gas and get my battery and get a couple exhaust clamps for that exhaust that's missing a clamp. Went got the battery for lemonade. Went to get gas. Whoo, man. That line was an half hour long. So I want you to see the smoke coming out of Panther. Well, a little bit. You can barely see it, but it puffs out a little more here and there. But every time I shift, when I hit the gas after a shift, it puffs out a good bit of smoke. There's something there. So I think this is the turbo. I'm going to go ahead and replace it here in a few minutes. It's breezy and you can see that smoke. And then I'm going to do the spark plugs as well. Okay, party people, we got this thing on ramps, in far enough to close the garage door if it gets cold. Not in too far where that front LED light won't help us. We are ready to get cracking on this thing. So we got an exhaust clamp, a turbo, and spark plugs. I think that's it. Let's get cracking. Yesterday I went by the car wash and the back was really dirty. It's still real dirty up there and in there. This just didn't come too clean. I went back by there today and they kind of stopped the machine on the back of it. It must have hit this tow hitch. It sounds horrible. I thought it broke something back here like my rear wing, but that's still intact. So it must have been some of their equipment got jacked up. Probably should have pulled that tow hitch off. Anyway, it looks a little better. I'm not going to worry about it. So let me see if I can get this exhaust clamp. And by then, this engine should be cool enough to start on it. Not sure if I showed this yesterday. Exhausts cool off pretty quick. But this is the clamp that I said's rusted off. So there it is. Big chunk of it missing. Exhaust clamps going to do what exhaust clamps are going to do. So hopefully the one I got will fit right on there in that section there and hold that tight. I got a 2.5 inch universal, kind of like I put up there somewhere. Right there. So let's see if this one fits on here and tightens down. I have this clamp on where I want it. Almost a 1/2 inch from the edge of it, or, you know, somewhere 3/8 inch in. Not sure if that weld is breaking there or if that's fine. But I look across, I got another clamp missing there. That one's totally gone. So let me go find a clamp for that when I go back out. Put that on tonight. I need to get this turbo cracking. Goodness. I need to get under this car and check the whole exhaust, I guess. I seem like I got a heat shield or something up there loose. And maybe an exhaust leak at the exhaust manifold. I'm going to check all those bolts when I do this turbo in a few minutes. And here's the turbo I'm about to put on Panther, folks. It'll actually sit this direction. It's got the port there. TDO4 housing. It's not an official Volvo housing. TDO4 is the size. And I believe ours is a Mitsubishi turbo. Now this is a turbo that's been rebuilt. It has the stock turbine wheel on it, but it has the inlet wheel billet. Looks like 11 blades. Let's see here. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 11 blade billet, maybe extra tall billet. I'm not sure. And I got this turbo from Troy. They have a shop in the Nevada area called Twisted Motion. And I'm put this on. It comes with the wastegate actuator. That's the one they use. I assume it's not set because it's not locked in. But I'll set that hopefully right between me and my tuner. It comes out that way. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get this on. Hopefully it's clocked properly and I won't have any issues. I see a spring in there. This may be similar to the wastegate actuator I got on there, which is a forge. So maybe this thing comes off and you could change that spring. I'm not sure what pressure spring that is. Maybe I'll look that up. And I got some dirt in there. Look like some packing material. So I got to suck that out of there with that vacuum cleaner. Anyway, let me go ahead and start tearing this stuff out of the way so I can replace this thing, and maybe I'll find my reverse switch while I'm in here. I found a little trick trying to vacuum the dirt off of that turbo. I got my charge pipe off, and that's what I see there oil-wise. A little bit of excessive oil there, and a good little bit down there. That could be from the turbo, could be from the PCV system. I don't know if that's, I think there's one nut missing there, and the nut missing out of there. I need to figure out what's going on with that. Bunch of oil there. Heat shield was already off, which is not a good thing. You see it's got the R exhaust manifold. I'm going to check all those bolts, make sure they're tight, because I hear a little noise coming from back there. I disconnect the wastegate actuator arm. I took the inlet tube off the front. A lot of oil was in there, so there's a chance that most of this oil is coming out of the PCV system. So I had to glove test that, make sure that's good. I wiped most of the oil out of there, the intercooler. Wiped the oil out of it. The charge pipe exit tube from the turbo, it's still leaking. I didn't wipe it out good enough, I guess. Drained the coolant. Oh, I got a ground wire broken here. I forgot about that. I need to grab one of those from the salvage yard. That thing is rotted. Probably not doing much anyway. I'll check that one over there. Anyway, I'm going to crack these 3 bolts loose off of the oil and coolant. I'm going to go under it and crack the drain bolts loose from the turbo drain and remove the turbo drain, and then remove these 3 line bolts, and then take the clamp loose and slide that thing out. Man, I'm surprised this turbo just didn't fall off this exhaust manifold. I went under it and there are no bolts on this exhaust flange. On the bottom side, 2 bolts fell off the bottom, 1 bolt fell off the top. I got 1 bolt holding this exhaust flange on the exhaust manifold. Then I got this 1 bolt missing here. So I'm going to try to figure that out. It looks like there's nothing broke off in there, so I should be able to fix that. So, weird. Let me go ahead and get this turbo off here and put a couple bolts on this exhaust flange. Man, look at how loose this turbo is down here. Well, not that, but this exhaust flange and downpipe. Because all this stuff, the screws are loose and missing. It is, folks. Look at all that oil in that inlet. That's telling me that most of this oil situation I'm dealing with is probably blow-by. And this is the turbo I got from Turbo Tony. Let's see if it has any play in it. See, it's got that different exhaust wheel. So, oh yeah, it's got a lot of shaft play. Look at that. So I'm going to take this thing to Tony and get it rebuilt. I'm amazed at the turbos I get from him. They still perform well, even if they have some wear in them. That's a lot of wear. He may not be able to rebuild this thing. The shaft may be too worn. But I'm going to take it and drop it off. Let's see if it spins with the vacuum cleaner like the other one did. Do-do-do-do. The vacuum cleaner on it. Look at that ain't even touching that thing. Next, I'm going to try to secure this exhaust flange and the downpipe, and then I'm going to oil the new turbo and put it on. Have all my screws and bolts and everything in on my exhaust, so I should not have an exhaust leak anymore. I had the end exhaust manifold bolt loose over there, and I had the exhaust manifold bolts loose on this edge. Anyway, got all this stuff in. I'm going to grab the turbo, set it in place, start this banjo bolt screw here after I get my new washers, make sure my bolts are clear, grab my clamp and the bolt there, and start putting this turbo in. At the turbo in place, the nut on the clamp, bolt, I gotta stick my finger back in the intake, make sure it spins freely. It does. Now I'm gonna tighten that down and make sure it continues to spin freely. Turbo's bolted in, the drain line's hooked up, the coolant lines are hooked up. However, there is no way that this wastegate actuator is going to bend over there to hook on this. So I'm going to take that off and see if mine will bolt on there so that I can hook up this wastegate actuator, because that ain't going to work. Turbo is officially in. Now when I tighten that wastegate actuator onto the turbo housing, it felt like the turbo tweaked toward the back. Hopefully that didn't mess anything up like my drain line or anything like that. That's the main thing you're concerned about with that turbo being clocked right, is the drain line. Now I did mark the center of that bolt to a black line on this turbo exhaust flange, so hopefully that's still lined up. Anyway, I'm going to replace the spark plugs. I'm going to gap them a little tighter. I'm going to gap them at 0.24 because I was experiencing spark blowout, which almost feels like a misfire. Hopefully that'll go away with the new plugs and the new gap, and this thing will run a little smoother. Basically, I couldn't boost into my upper end. Once I was getting around 42, 4,500 RPMs and over 12 pounds of boost, I would get that spark blowout. So hopefully that'll get rid of that and I'll be able to race again. My battery tester, I took this battery to O'Reilly's yesterday. They said it was bad. I told them to put it on a trickle charger. Now they're saying it's good. It said 13.01 a minute ago. Now it's saying 12 point whatever. So we're going to test it. I think this has got 650 cold cranking amps. Going the wrong way. And we're testing. And it says we are state of health 80%, state of charge 98%. Good battery. Good to go for lemonade. I am having a heck of a time finding my spark plug gapper. So hopefully I'll find that in the next few minutes to gap these plugs where I want them and move on with this day. Because I need to do the plugs, this clamp, and get gas. Oh, and my reverse light switch. So hopefully I'll be able to get to all of those things real quick. These are the plugs I pulled out in order. Number 1 was gapped at about 30. The rest of these were gapped at about 0.034. Got the new plugs in, gapped at 0.024. Now I'm going to see if I can change this reverse light switch by removing this air box that I actually just put in. So the ignition's on, the car is in reverse, and the reverse lights are working now. Isn't that a mess? So I'm going to leave that alone. But I'm going to wiggle it around a little bit, see if it goes out. Because, man, I usually can't see that, but maybe they are working, I just can't see it. Oh, see if they're on now. And they are still on. Maybe it's me tripping. I don't need to mess with that. Well, 3 hits, they work every time. Maybe I need better lights in there or need to hook up an auxiliary light. So let me go ahead and connect that charge pipe turn this car around, do that exhaust, and wrap this thing up, pack it up for my trip. Got the battery disconnected. I got everything hooked up, and the fuel system disconnected, and I got the fuel pump fuse out. I have the ignition coil unplugged. I'm gonna go ahead and crank this thing until my low oil pressure light goes out to prime the turbo oil system with oil pressure. There it goes. We got oil pressure. We can hook that stuff up and start it. Double check it. Yep. Should be good to go. Fire this car up. You don't want to start a car with low oil pressure when you put a new turbo in. You got to get that air out of that line. I got the car moved. I don't see any evidence of leaking. Now I'm going to put this clamp under here. Oh, here it is. It's totally broken like the other side was. I'm going to put this clamp here and try to figure out if I can find what sounds loose down here, and I'll be done. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.